Good morning, folks. We train Joker Sneaker Principal, and welcome to this episode of the Sneaker Principal podcast. It's a little bit after 4:15 in the morning, and I have to tell you, I feel great. Yesterday, I was battling a migraine. I think a little bit of, maybe dehydration, because as I reflect back on yesterday, didn't get in a lot of water. Running around, putting out fires, doing what we do as school leaders, as a principal. And then when it finally hit me, the headache and everything else, I was still pushing, I was still grinding. I was like, I got so much to do. I got to get these things done. And then I had class yesterday evening, which was definitely hindered because of the headache. But now I look back and realize, Uche, you didn't drink enough water yesterday. And I'll share this with you, what I do with water. To be honest with you, I'm not able to drink just regular water in large amounts. I just can't. I will sip on a bottle of water, but if I want to drink a lot of water, I have to put electrolytes in there. And I don't know if I have any here. What I usually use, I can't remember the name right now, but an example is this. This is not a sponsored video, but it's just an example. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of this one, but I have it just in case I need it. This is liquid IV, and it comes in various flavors. This is rainbow sherbet, which was just a little too sweet for me, but it's sugar-free, so whatever they use to as a sweetener, it's just a little too intense for me. But again, I'll take something like this. It comes in little packets, and I'll take a giant Stanley cup and maybe do half of it in there. And what it does, the best way for me to describe it softens the water, so it's just not me drinking tons of just like regular. I don't know how to describe it. Just regular water. Maybe someone's watching this agrees with me. Just water by itself is just harsh, especially when you drink a large amount of it, because you're trying to be hydrated. I feel like our bodies already have some amount of water. The question is, are we getting enough of the water into our cells so it can function properly? A lot of times we drink all this water and we just go to the bathroom, and it just goes through our system. I can't even say it flushes our system out. It just goes through our system. So but when I do the electrolytes, and the thing with electrolytes is that they tend to have a high sodium content. Like this one here is 22% the value of sodium. It has 510 milligrams of sodium. I think with sodium is a catalyst to get hydration into your cells, and that's the most important thing. Not necessarily having a belly full of water or a bladder full of water, but water that's being allowed to truly hydrate your system. So yesterday, that was my mess up yesterday. My F up was that I just didn't get enough water. So today is the day that I gotta make sure that I change that. Since I've already started talking about health, every so often I'm going to go down this pathway of talking to you about your health. I'm not a doctor. Nothing that I'm saying here is medical advice. But what I will say is a cautionary tale. Last night I was talking to a friend of mine about my ID pictures. I had to make a copy of my U.S. naturalization papers, my little certificate. I was naturalized, meaning I became a U.S. citizen in 2005. 2006. And prior to that, I received my green card in 1996. So yeah, that's just on a side note, especially the climate we're in right now with all these deportations. It's kind of surreal to know that if I was in the status that I was prior to 96, what would I be doing right now? Especially seeing that a lot of my students and families are terrified. And it's funny because prior to 1996, I was terrified. My family was terrified, even though there wasn't a big ice push. I don't know if they were still even called ice back then, but now it's yeah, it sucks. It really does suck. But I was making a copy of my naturalization certificate, and certificate of naturalization. And I was looking at the picture, and that picture, I probably weighed about 270, 280 pounds easily. About 280 pounds easily. 5'9", 280 pounds. Looking at that picture, I looked at my face. I was just a round face, and I remember what my body looked like. I've never been like, I never had a look of being morbidly obese. But I was always looked like, people always say the same thing to me. You play football? You play football? Because just the way I was built, I wasn't like, I wasn't spilling over myself. It was just like, I was just like one big block of muscle, like a juggernaut. I was like a juggernaut, basically. So I'm looking at that picture of my face, and I'm like, wow. Then I took a picture of I also made a copy of my passport. I look at my passport, and my passport, this would have been 2016-ish, 2017-ish. So literally, wow, 10 years later, and I looked very different. I leaned out a little bit more. I'd had bariatric surgery. Those of you who don't know that story, I had that surgery at that time, and it's a whole nother story. But so when you had that surgery, you do drop a lot of weight quite rapidly. So those two pictures look very different, very, very different. I mean, you can see in the eyes and the face is the same person, but the overall facial structure was it was like, okay, these two people are brothers. but then what's funny is that then oh no, it wasn't my passport. It was my driver's license picture. I had been updated, so that picture is where I looked like, oh, this guys is the same person, but they look different. In my naturalization photo, I just looked like I was kind of like, life is life, right? Just in my driver's license photo, I looked much more like, oh, life is getting better. The weight is coming off. I feel good. And then my passport photo, but I had probably lost way more weight, and the passport photo happened not too long after that. So I think a few months later. So look at those three pictures, and I'm like, damn, look at the journey, from that guy to my passport photo. But what's interesting is that even though I lost all that weight, the process itself was not sustainable or healthy. My body was losing weight because of the surgery, and then my willpower, my need to sustain it and push myself. And I did that. I did that for about 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. The one thing I didn't change was my mindset. I kind of just pushed my body. It was kind of like a sprint. I'm just sprinting to the finish line. And when you can see the finish line, you're just sprinting. And for me, the finish line was a scale. If I can get to this number, then I'm wonderful. And I got to that number. And I'll tell you this, I got to that number, and then within 3-4 years, I was up to damn near 250. I was 275. And that was last year. Last year around this time, I was 275. My lowest weight had been 186, which was very temporary. So I would pretty much say that my lowest base weight was about 198. I would say, because I remember that was the number. I was always trying to stay with 198 and not go over 200. And I held on to that for a while. Then I gave up, and I leaned on what my doctor told me. A healthy weight for me would be, he would say, healthy weight for you is 225. So I allowed myself to get back to 225. And I was at 225 for maybe 2 years or so. And slowly but surely, I started to creep. And I was like 247. And it was almost like the surgery didn't mean anything anymore, because my body, I had allowed my body to to kind of like get comfortable being heavy again. And I won't lie, I avoided the scale for a while, and then one day I just said, I need to know. I really need to know where I'm at. I got on that scale, and what I saw, it didn't scare me, but it made me really sad, because when I had the surgery, I remember filling out the paperwork prior to the surgery, and the one that was blurring for me was the paperwork that was pretty much saying that you are aware that this is a surgery, and all surgeries have its inherent risk. And then I signed my paperwork, and I went under, knowing that anything can happen. One mistake, one disagreement, that my body has with the procedure, and I could be dead. And that was something that I fully acknowledged. And even after my surgery, I had some kind of infection. And the first night, I had the craziest fever. My blood pressure had dropped. And thank God for my Ghanaian nurse, Chale. Thank God for Chale. Chale saved my life. This brother, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was sweating, and he asked me, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I don't feel good." And he made the alert. I think I kind of passed out. I woke up, there were all these doctors around me. I still to this day don't know exactly what happened. All I know, my body was not having it. And it was funny because I had to believe that if it wasn't for the gentleman who was there and the doctors thinking quickly, I probably would have died. And it's funny because I had read so many, I had gone down a rabbit hole on YouTube right before the surgery and seen people who died right after the surgery, they died in the middle of the surgery, they died while they were in recovery, all kinds of stuff, because again, this is a very small percentage, but you don't know where you fall, if you might fall into that percentage, or you might just be completely, lucky and not have anything traumatic happen to you. But yeah, so I survived. So I went through what I went through. So here I am now, last year at 247 pounds, and depressed, broken, going through a lot mentally, physically, spiritually, all over the place. And I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision to prioritize myself. And some people might say that's selfish. You're a father, you have children, you have this, you have responsibilities. But let me tell you something. When you don't prioritize yourself, then how do you expect, in any given shape or form, to do the things you need to do to make sure the people that need to be taken care of are taken care of? Then how is it possible? I'm gonna say it one more time. How is it possible to do what needs to be done to take care of the people that you need to take care of if you don't prioritize yourself? Too many of us get caught up in this space where we're just like, I do it for my family, I do it for my kids, you don't understand, my kids need me, and you're doing it unhealthy. So you have a heart attack and drop, and you're no longer here with us. How did that benefit your children? You get so sick that you can't even function, you can't move, and you're bedridden. How does that benefit your school community or your students? You're so mentally distressed and bogged down, and that you can't even think straight. You're an emotional mess. How does that benefit anybody? And I was seeing all these things happening. This time I was sprinting involuntarily towards the finish line. It was very, very dark. And I had to make a decision. And my decision was to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, drag my butt out of bed, and go to the gym. And when I got to that gym, I did the one thing that I hated the most all my life, was get on a treadmill and run. I'm not out here sprinting like, Usain Bolt, but I'm putting miles in. And listen, when I start putting miles in, I'm talking about no more than 2 miles. I'll get on a treadmill, I'll do 2 miles, and then after that, I ask myself, what's the next thing that I hated? Oh, I hate pull-ups. I was doing pull-ups, 1 in the beginning, 2, 3. Now I can do sets of up to 12, maybe even more, 4 or 5 sets. I'm sorry, I would say 10 to 12 reps. Then I was like doing push-ups. Okay, another one that I hate. I started doing push-ups. And it was funny because I wasn't doing the things that I usually did, which was grab the dumbbells and do the exercises that really only give you pretty muscles. It's really about sculpting your body so you look a certain way. I just was going in there because I was like, I cannot be I'm 247. I cannot allow myself to get back to 250s, to 260s, 70s, 80s, and back to like 350. I cannot allow that. So I just kept on doing that. For a while, I was posting damn near every day on Instagram. And it was funny because people thought I was doing it so they could see what I was doing. I was doing it for myself. It was a way for me to log that, hey, this is part of what you have to do. So you can look back at it. And now I don't post as much because psychologically I'm past that space. But now it's like I have to. Now it's like I have to do this, not because of the number on the scale anymore. Now I got to do it for my kids. Because what I started, that was based on me being selfish and saying, Uche, you have to do this because the outcomes and the benefits will reach out to everybody. And I think I'm past that hill right now. I do it because this is what I do. But now my motivator in doing it is that at the age of 48, I have to make sure that my kids understand this one thing. Daddy is fighting to be around. Daddy is fighting to be the best version of himself. Daddy is fighting to make sure that Daddy can get on his knees and touch his toes and move around and not have back issues and hip issues and high blood pressure issues and all these different things. Daddy is just a savage. And it's funny to say that, I used to be made fun of because I have a friend of mine who used to call me LL Savage, because my last name, my middle name is Lawrence. So he would call me, LL Savage. And people thought it had something to do with some kind of sexual connotation. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with a mentality of just being relentless. And it took me a long time to figure that out, to figure out how to be relentless, even though I knew I had to be relentless. And now this is what I do. So, yes, it is, what time is it right now? It is 4:43 in the morning. Most of my friends and colleagues are still sleeping. And a lot of them are getting up at about 5:30, to then jump in the shower, and then get in their car so they can be to work on time and do what they need to do for the day, right? For me, I'm up. This morning, my alarm went off at 3:45. I pushed myself out of bed at 4 o'clock. I'm here making this video right now, and people might be looking at me and be like, "Bro, you can just get a little bit more sleep." But my thing is, this sleep for what? I know I've got enough sleep. I'm up, and shortly I'm gonna make my way through the snow. It's snowing outside right now to the gym. Thankfully, the gym is about 2 blocks away. Get my workout, get my run in, get my pull-ups, my push-ups in, and then I'm gonna come here, get ready, and go to work. I've given myself a full hour of just getting my mind clear and right and engaging in this activity, which is interesting. Just making these videos, making these podcasts allows me to get my brain fired up so I can go into the day and be a savage, and be that much more faster, that much more intuitive, that much more, mentally ambidextrous and agile. And this is the things that a lot of us are missing. A lot of us leaders are so caught up, not even leaders, a lot of us just human beings are so caught up in just the rat race of the mundane versus saying, how do I make sure that I'm better? every day? How do I make sure I reach my optimal state? Again, guys, I'm 48, and I'm in better shape right now than I've ever been in my whole entire life. You know, when I played high school football, played football in college, and when I listened to the Marine Corps, like those were pivotal points where I thought I was in great shape. And the funny thing is, here I am, much older, and I know for a fact I'll run circles around those young men. You know, those pictures on those IDs and passports and whatever. Those men can hold a candle to me right now. I'm not saying this to be boastful. I'm not saying this to be insincerely unhumble. That's my new word, unhumble. I'm saying that because I think I've cracked the code. You know, it's mind, body, spirit. My mind says I'm not gonna stop. My body says, listen, keep giving it to me because I love the struggle. And then my spirit says, be still. Be still. When people are trying to tell you that that's not healthy or this is not that or whatever the case they say to you, whether intentional or unintentionally to slow you down, you just stay still and you look at them and you keep moving forward, knowing that they're looking at you saying, damn, I wish I could be you. I'm not saying to be insulting or to be self-centered, but I know that's human nature. We look at the things that other people are doing, and rather than saying, hey, I need to get up and do the same thing, we say, you know, they think that all that. Okay. But I plan to be around to 120 because I plan to be, you know, sharing a drink with my son when he's in his 40s, and I plan to be there to carry and rock my grandkids, and they're like, Daddy, how old are you? I'm like, older than time, but I'm still fly. All right, y'all, it's Uche and Joku, Sneaker Principal. Call to action. Get up and do something, y'all. Please get up and do something.